You'll have to forgive my squinting and kind of blinding lights. The front layer of my right eye has delaminated from the rest of my eye. It's incredibly painful and I can't see. Anyway, often heralded as the future of gaming, cloud gaming is a completely different way to enjoy your favourite video games. For little to no money, you can get access to essentially a high-end gaming PC to enjoy a limitless selection of games from anywhere on basically any device. Want to play the latest COD on your phone? No, well I wouldn't either, but you can with the magic of cloud gaming. To be clear though, cloud gaming as a concept, or a service, isn't exactly new. My first interaction with the idea was in 2009 with OnLive, a cloud gaming service that let you play a small selection of games that they were able to license, all from their servers. They ended up selling their patents to Sony after going under in 2012, but even OnLive wasn't the first. A startup called G-Cluster demonstrated at the 2000 E3 show and launched in 2005. Now they left the game streaming market in 2010 to focus on IPTV, but that means that the concept has been kicking around for 2 decades now. The basic premise of cloud gaming is pretty simple. Instead of doing the hard work of rendering the 3D world of your game on your local machine, which would require an expensive gaming PC or console, hefty power bills, lots of noise and heat, and you're tied to that large and heavy machine, what if you did all of that hard work on a server in a data center and just sent the video feed to your local device? That would mean that you could use anything that can connect to the internet and display a video to play. Pair a controller or a keyboard and mouse, and you're all set. No big heavy gaming PC or laptop, just an internet connection. It sounds fantastic, doesn't it? You can see why it's often seen as the future of gaming, where there's no hardware that you need to buy, just an app. It's worth noting that there are quite a few different approaches to the cloud gaming business model, which change quite a lot about how you use them and how useful they are outright. Generally, the most common method is for the service provider to essentially just provide the hardware, and you bring the games. A service like Shadow actually gives you an entire Windows operating system to play with, and it's up to you to install whatever game services like Steam, Epic Games, GOG, or any of the other ones to actually play the games with. This has its advantages. There aren't any compatibility issues with the service not yet allowing you to play whatever game you want. You can also, say, record your game in the background on their hardware and, not need to use your own to do that. And of course, if you would rather edit videos or develop your own games, you can just install Premiere Pro or Unreal Engine and use the power of their hardware to do just that. Nvidia's GeForce Now service is one step down from Shadow in terms of control. They have games essentially pre-installed, and you pick what game you want to play, but you will still have to log into your own Steam or Epic or EA or Ubisoft accounts to prove that you own the game before you can actually play anything. So you're still playing your games, i.e. the ones that you already own through the various platforms, but you're mostly just playing it on Nvidia's hardware. Something like the PC Game Pass or Xbox Cloud Gaming from Microsoft is completely different. By paying the subscription fee, you get access to the entire library of streamable games and Microsoft's hardware to render those games. You don't need to own anything to get playing. You don't need to log into a Steam account or something. You just pay the subscription and start playing. The upside to this is pretty obvious. You get to, you pay a single, relatively low fee in the grand scheme of things, and you get both a large games library and the ability to play those games on basically any device. The downside is that unlike Shadow or GeForce Now, where you still own the games that you're playing and can therefore change how you play those games anytime you want, as in swap between Shadow and GeForce Now or start playing them locally on a gaming PC, if you stop paying for Game Pass and Xbox Cloud Gaming, you not only lose access to the hardware, but to the games library too. Google's now defunct cloud gaming platform, Stadia, is a great example of how dystopian these services can be. Not only did you have to use Google's hardware, but you had to purchase the games on Stadia. I don't mean you had to buy the game on Steam and link your account. No, Google licensed all the games they had, and you were buying a separate copy that would only ever work on Stadia. Even if you already owned the game, you had to buy it again on Stadia. Now, to their credit, if you did pay for the Pro subscription that got you some extra sort of streaming performance, they did give you access to a decent number of games for as long as you were paying the money, and when they shuttered operations, they refunded a great deal of the costs that users incurred. Still, the idea of having to buy games that are locked to a single platform that could, and did, go away at any moment never sat right with me, and I'm glad that few have tried to emulate that particular business model. While I have mentioned some of the benefits already, I think it is good to clarify why so many users and companies are interested in cloud gaming. From a user perspective, it really boils down to convenience, both in usage and in cost. Let's face it, a gaming PC is expensive. Gaming laptops really start at £1,000 or so, and they quickly get obsolete, worryingly quickly in fact, especially the lower end ones. Desktops aren't much better, and of course those are really tied to more conventional spaces like desks and literally tied to wall outlets most of the time. The idea that you can fire up any game you want from your phone, TV, tablet or basic laptop is really appealing to the more casual gamers who don't want to sit at a desk to game 24/7. The fact that those services have little to no upfront costs means that you can dive straight in without ever having to splash out on a console or PC. And for those that outright can't afford that, especially the services that offer a free tier like Nvidia GeForce Now, that might well be some people's only chance to play some games. There are of course some drawbacks to cloud gaming services too, including, as I've already mentioned, the lack of ownership, especially on a platform like Xbox Cloud Gaming and Game Pass. If you can't afford the monthly subscription, you lose access to not only your gaming machine, but the games themselves. You can't borrow a laptop from a friend for a while or scrape together enough to build an Optiplex special gaming PC because you don't have any of your games to play. At least with services like GeForce Now and Shadow, since they use your own Steam and Origin and all that sort of stuff accounts, you still have access to your games library regardless of access to their service. The arguably bigger issues revolve around the fact that the game is being rendered on a server a considerable distance from you and delivering the video feed back to you over the internet. The speed of light through fiber is actually a little bit of a factor here, and of course the many servers and routers between you and the rendering server, and of course that's the round trip latency from you sending an input to you seeing that input come back. The best case for that latency is normally between 80 and 100 milliseconds, with some services taking more like 150 to 300 milliseconds to register an input. For context, a mouse click on a local gaming PC in something like CSGO generally takes 20 to 30 milliseconds. So even the best cloud gaming services that I've tested are triple or quadruple the delay. That makes playing any latency sensitive games, first person shooters, rhythm games, and even combat and sports games very difficult and often hard to enjoy. That isn't something that can be easily improved without someone like Nvidia putting GeForce Now servers basically on every street corner, which of course isn't exactly economically viable. For the right games, it can be perfectly fine, but for a lot of games, it is a worse experience. And then there is the internet connection aspect. While you aren't tethered to a wall outlet, you're essentially tethered to your home Wi-Fi. You need not only enough bandwidth, as in fast enough connection that can download the new video frames on the fly constantly, but one that is stable enough for consistent delivery of those video frames and to relay your inputs back quickly. Well, I'm sure that 4G or 5G, while stationary, can be capable of that, likely with higher latency, but they can do it, especially if you're moving, or for example, in-flight Wi-Fi, that just won't be sufficient for a reasonable experience. That's a pretty big deal, and something that you'll need to consider when it comes to cloud gaming. As for what's ahead of us, that's always difficult to predict. The main console platforms, that being Xbox and PlayStation, have been rumoured to be going cloud-only for their next generation, although I think that line has been published for the last 2 generations, so I'm not sure how much stock I put into that idea. I could imagine Microsoft launching a sort of light-style console that is just a little streaming box you plug into your TV, but I would expect that it will still be a while, if ever, that they will actually get rid of the full-fat console option. While I think cloud gaming serves a well-deserved niche, I don't believe that it will ever fully replace local hardware, at least with our current hardware paradigm. But of course, those are my thoughts, and I would love to hear yours in the comments down below. What do you think about cloud gaming? Are you part of the niche that it fills well, or are you more happy with local hardware and potentially a slightly faster experience, but not quite as convenient? Let me know in the comments down below. If you're interested in seeing more videos like this one, do hit the subscribe button and turn on the bell notification icon. Check out plenty of other videos on the end cards when they pop up in a second. And if you want to support me and the channel, you can do so in a load of different ways. You can actually buy an open source response time or latency testing tool from me. That's osrtt.com, and that'll be in the description. You can also support directly through Patreon or YouTube. You can pick up a hoodie or t-shirt like this one, or a load of other designs that I made myself. And otherwise, that's kind of it. Thank you very much for watching. Again, I apologize for my very broken eye. And yeah, I hope to see you all in the next video. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all soon.